The 10th of May, 1940. Nazi Germany launches a devastating attack on France. German tanks swiftly break through France's fortified defensive lines, scattering the defenders and advancing rapidly into enemy territory. Spearheading this unstoppable thrust is the legendary Ghost Division, commanded by Erwin Rommel, famed for its lightning speed and daring tactics. Among the division's soldiers is a man who was once a lover of Magda Goebbels, the wife of propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels. In later years, he will become notorious for the brutal atrocities he commits, not only during the siege of Breslau, today's Polish Wrocław, but also throughout his ruthless rule over the city. Thanks to his merciless devotion to the Nazi cause, he will become commander of the entire murderous Nazi paramilitary organization, the SS, replacing Heinrich Himmler himself. His name is Karl Hanke. Karl August Hanke was born on the 24th of August 1903 in the small Silesian town of Lauban, today's Polish Luban, then part of the German Empire. His father Wilhelm Robert Hanke was a railway engineer, and during the First World War Karl's older brother was killed. Karl Hanke, too young to fight in the war, finished the local gymnasium level, and in 1920 volunteered for a year of service with the Reichswehr, the German army which was limited by the Versailles Peace Treaty. The shrunken post-war army offered more drill than opportunity, yet it gave him a taste for uniform, hierarchy, and the hard, direct language of commands that he would use for the rest of his life. After his demobilization in 1921, he chose to work in a trade business. He attended the German Millers' School at Diepoldiswalde and earned a qualification as a milling engineer. For several years he wandered between Silesia, Bavaria, and Tyrol, managing small mills, patching worn machinery, and learning both thrift and ambition. In these provincial posts he noticed that technical skill alone did not guarantee advancement, and one needed connections, conviction, and above all, a cause that promised movement in a stagnant nation. Hanke later moved to Berlin, the city of noise, neon lights, and endless talk. He completed a course at the Pedagogical Institute, receiving a degree that qualified him to teach milling at technical schools. After this, he became an instructor at a technical school in Berlin. By day, he lectured apprentices on flour quality and how to use mill machinery properly, and by night he wandered through smoky taverns where angry men debated on the unfairness of the Treaty of Versailles and the political situation in Europe. On the 1st of November 1928, he joined the German Nazi Party, receiving membership number 102,606. The brown shirt meetings thrilled him. Here, he felt, action replaced excuses. He quickly volunteered as a speaker, then as an organizer of factory cells in Berlin. And promotions followed. By 1929, he wore the uniform of the infamous Nazi paramilitary organization, the SA, and slowly rose through the ranks of Hitler's party structures in Berlin. His gift was urgency. He spoke fast, set impossible deadlines, and expected obedience. Many grumbled, yet results appeared, and results impressed his superiors in the Nazi movement. In spring 1931, the Prussian authorities, alarmed by his political agitation, dismissed him from his teaching position. Joseph Goebbels, the fiery regional leader of Nazi Party in Berlin, noticed the young organizer. Goebbels appointed him as the person responsible for the organization of the party in Berlin, and later made him his personal adjutant and advisor. Hanke showed no regret when he was kicked out of his job. For him, full-time party work seemed like a promotion. When Goebbels needed headquarters worthy of his ambitions, Hanke recommended at that time little-known architect Albert Speer and supervised the conversion of a villa in Grunewald in Berlin. Speer remembered Hanke's energy and his impatience when delays occurred. They became friends, and Hanke again secured another task for Albert Speer in July 1932, having him build a headquarters for the Berlin Nazi Party in the center of the German capital. Hanke was becoming very successful at that time, and under Goebbels's patronage, the doors of German government for him swung open. In April 1932, Hanke had become a Nazi Party delegate to the Prussian state parliament, and in November he won a seat in the Reichstag, the German parliament, where he was representing the Nazi Party. The Nazi seizure of power in January 1933 lifted Hanke even higher. Goebbels soon created the Reich Ministry for Public Enlightenment and Propaganda on the 13th of March 1933 and became the head of this new institution. Hanke followed him as his private secretary, then as head of the minister's personal secretariat. At the time, Hanke was a favorite of Goebbels and accompanied his boss on official visits to Italy and Poland. The reality that Hanke in February 1934 joined the SS also helped. At receptions, foreign diplomats saw a slim, alert official at Goebbels' elbow, ready with figures on press tirages or cinema attendances. Hitler himself liked Hanke's sharp answers and tireless manner, and occasionally invited him to consultations. Yet the Goebbels' household hid storms. Goebbels collected extramarital affairs the way other men collected postcards. In 1937, he fell in love with the Czechoslovak film actress Lida Barova and was thinking about divorcing his wife Magda Goebbels. Magda, with wounded pride and furious, found a friend in Hanke. The secretary, who already admired the minister's wife and perhaps hoped for more, listened, advised, and finally, with her help, compiled a list of 36 actresses who had shared Goebbels' attentions. Together, they presented the document to Adolf Hitler. The Führer, protective of Magda and of the image of party purity, ordered Goebbels to end the relationship with Barova. A truce followed, but the marriage remained cold. In 1939, Magda confessed to her husband that since October 1938, she herself had taken Hanke as a lover. Goebbels erupted and Hitler again intervened, commanding the couple to remain together for the good of the Reich. Goebbels exiled Hanke to an indefinite vacation and never reinstated him at the ministry. Exile, however, lasted only weeks. In July 1939, Hanke was called up for active army service, wearing the shoulder straps of a reserve officer's commission obtained 2 years earlier. The Second World War began on the 1st of September 1939. With the 3rd Panzer Division, Hanke rolled into Poland, relishing the clarity of military orders after propaganda intrigue. In May 1940, he served under General Erwin Rommel in the famous 7th Panzer Division, nicknamed the Ghost Division, during the Blitz through France. Rommel appreciated the political officer who could brief journalists and still be active during the battle. Hanke earned the Iron Cross, 1st and 2nd class. Yet a clash of tempers ended the idyll. At an officers' mess, he hinted that his influence in Berlin could alter commands, and even suggested that it was possible for him to remove Rommel from his position of commander. Rommel, intolerant of political boasting, filed a sharp report and secured Hanke's removal. When in January 1941 Hanke left the Wehrmacht, he was decorated, experienced, and ambitious for a new arena. And Hitler provided one for him. On the 27th of January 1941, the Führer appointed Hanke as a regional leader, a Gauleiter of the newly created Gau Lower Silesia, with headquarters in Breslau, today's Polish Wrocław. On the 1st of February 1941, he became Oberpräsident of the Prussian province, uniting party and state authority in his hands. On the 9th of February 1941, he acquired the post of Reich Defense Commissioner for Military District 8. Hanke ruled by decree and by example of ferocity. He ordered mass arrests, approved over 1,000 executions, and boasted that fear was the beginning of obedience. Locals soon gave him a new title, the Hangman of Breslau. Hanke also knew about the extermination camp in Auschwitz and other sites created by Nazi Germany. When his friend Albert Speer planned an inspection trip to the territory of Upper Silesia in 1944, Hanke privately warned him never to go. What he had seen there, he said, could not be described. On the 30th of January 1944, Himmler promoted him to one of the highest ranks in the SS. In this murderous organization, he became the SS Obergruppenführer, which was equivalent to lieutenant general. Hanke, amid the terror he created, also sought legitimacy in front of the local population, at least in front of the local Germans. In November 1944, he married Baroness Frieda von Ferks, daughter of a Baltic noble family and mother of his year-old daughter. The wedding, hastily arranged in Breslau, displayed silk banners and silver SS runes, but could not mask the thunder of Soviet artillery approaching from the east. The Red Army crossed the Oder River in January 1945. Hitler declared Breslau a fortress city to be held at any cost and appointed Hanke its battle commander. Hanke mobilized young boys and grey-haired old men, scraped bricks together from ruins for new barricades, and transformed basements into execution cells for, in his language, cowards. In reality, those were the people who were tired of war and were hoping they would survive the battle for Breslau. On the 27th of January 1945, Hanke arrested the city's mayor, Wolfgang Spielhagen, for alleged defeatism and had him shot before dawn. Requisitioned loudspeakers broadcast Hanke's vow that Breslau would stand or burn. Joseph Goebbels noted in his diary on the 3rd of April 1945, Hanke received extraordinary praise from the Führer at the briefing. Hitler said, "And he deserves it. He is an outstanding leader among our fighting Gauleiters. He is also militantly committed to an extent that unfortunately cannot be said of the other Gauleiters." The siege of Breslau lasted 82 days. Civilian casualties reached 30,000, and Soviet losses were around 60,000. On the 12th of April 1945, Hitler awarded Hanke the German Order, the Nazi Party's highest decoration. 17 days later, in the political testament dictated in the Berlin bunker, Hitler named Hanke Reichsführer-SS and Chief of German Police, dismissing Heinrich Himmler for his talks with the Allies. In Hitler's view, it was a treachery. The promotion reached Breslau by radio on the 5th of May 1945. Hanke acknowledged it, but the city, which had been turned into a fortress, was already cracking under Soviet pressure. On the 6th of May 1945, General Hermann Niehoff capitulated, and Breslau surrendered. Breslau was the last major city in Germany to surrender. Destruction by Soviet aerial and artillery bombardment, along with acts of destruction committed by the SS and Nazi Party members, brought almost 90% of Breslau to a state of ruin. Hanke had flown out of Breslau on the 5th of May 1945, 3 days before the end of the Second World War in Europe. The fugitive landed near Prague. In order to conceal his identity, Hanke dressed himself in the uniform of an SS private and attached himself to the 18th SS Volunteer Panzer Grenadier Division Horst Wessel. He relied on anonymity. Only a handful knew that the slender private was nominally head of the entire SS. The division, pressed by Czechoslovak resistance fighters and Soviet units, attempted to reach American lines but found roads blocked. They were hoping to get into American captivity and not Soviet capture. They knew what they had done in the Soviet Union and what retribution would await them. Their hopes were in vain. On the 6th of May, they surrendered near Nová Ves in today's Czech Republic. Czechoslovak captors, unaware of their prize, herded 65 SS prisoners into a temporary prisoner of war camp. The Czechoslovaks decided to move them all by foot on the 8th of June 1945. When a train passed the march route, the 41-year-old Hanke and several other prisoners of war attempted to escape, clinging to the train. The guards fired and injured Hanke. After shooting, they dragged him down and beat him with rifle butts until he fell silent and died. Thus, the last Reichsführer-SS died anonymously a few weeks after Germany's surrender on a muddy Czechoslovak road. News of his fate only surfaced months later. When the Czechoslovak guards struck him down in June 1945, the Reich he served had already crumbled into dust, and the city he vowed to save lay in ruins behind the new Polish frontier. The Hangman of Breslau left no tombstone, only rubble and memories of fear. Until today, the story of Karl Hanke warns that loyalty to a brutal cause offers no refuge, only a longer, drop. Thanks for watching the World History Channel. Be sure to like and subscribe and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss our next episodes. We thank you, and we'll see you next time on the channel.